Skills are an important part of mental health, and as a result of too much screen time, it undermines our mental development. Most importantly, our technological devices hinder our growth and maturity. We miss out on building friendships and become poor problem solvers. When you were younger, did you run into any problems with your parents, friends, or teachers? And how did you solve the problem?
Everyone had problems with their parents from time to time, or friends, or their teachers, but they were solved without the use of any technological means, but face-to-face discussion. Um, One thing that's changed dramatically is the way, in my opinion, is the way that parents interact with teachers and people of authority, whether it's law enforcement or anyone else in a position of authority. In the olden days, when you had an issue at school, your parent and the principal called your home. Your parent was not going to go into school and be your advocate. Your parent was going to find out what happened, and you knew that there was a punishment that was going to be meted out at home. Whereas nowadays, it seems to me it's a complete 180 where an issue occurs at school, the parents become the advocates for the students in a negative way, like circumstances where someone forgets to turn in homework and the parent is called by the teacher. Johnny didn't turn in his homework, and right away the parent becomes the student's advocate, their child's advocate, to say that the teacher lost the homework. And then the teacher might respond with, why did Johnny not turn in all 7 other homework assignments? Did the teacher lose those assignments as well? That's how things are different um, in this day and age versus the times when I was in school. The parents were not going to be the defenders of their children. If the call was made by an administrator that little Johnny had done something wrong at school, the parents weren't going to take his side because there had to be a valid reason for it. So it's very different than it is today, in my view.
Do you notice a difference as to how kids solve problems today?
I think kids have more difficulty solving problems because they're not as experienced in interfacing face to face interpersonal relationships with people, and in many instances I think they hide behind the technology. A lot of examples of cyberbullying, people taking other people's electronic devices, pretending to be a third party and making inappropriate comments or negative comments toward another person and hurting someone's feelings, being able to hide behind the technology. In my day, there would be disagreements, but the disagreements would be settled face to face, whether it was outside in the neighborhood or on the playground. People got past it, moved forward, and you were able to build relationships because one negative interaction didn't result in your relationship being destroyed like sometimes it does now.
Thank you. In one study, 1,000 participants ages 18 to 65 were asked to completely power off from the internet for 24 hours. The signs were startling. The participants experienced similar signs as to someone going through a withdrawal from alcohol and drugs. Today, psychologists and researchers have wondered whether technology use should be considered as an addiction or obsession. What do you believe? Could technology be an addiction or obsession?
I think it probably could be both, but I would describe it, in my opinion, more like an obsession. An addiction would be something that a person can't help themselves, prevent themselves from doing something, whether it be the use of alcohol or a controlled substance. Whereas nowadays, it seems to me that these smartphones, which are like having a handheld computer in your hand, people are so obsessed with it that when you walk into a coffee shop, every single person sitting at a coffee shop is playing with their phone, reading their emails, sending text messages, or checking voicemail, and very little talking is occurring between the patrons in a restaurant. And I even see it with people standing in line, whether it's at the supermarket, at the bank, or at a coffee shop, where they feel compelled to be connected to the information contained on their phones, so that while they're waiting in the 2 minutes before they place their order, instead of engaging in conversation with the person standing next to them, their head is buried in their phone looking at the same information. To me, it's kind of a sad commentary on what's happened to us in a very short period of time.
Why might this generation have a difficult time maturing into adults when they grow up?
For the very reasons we're talking about, there's a um, there's a skill set that people need in order to conduct a face-to-face discussion with someone, even if it's minor chit-chat of what's going on, how the weather is, interacting with people. That skill seems to be missing because of all the texting and emails and non-personal connection that exists in today's society.
Thank you, Dad, for helping us understand how technology has negatively impacted us mentally.
You're welcome. My pleasure.